Hello friends, welcome to Squaird Plans, where creative planning and organization comes to life. I'm Stephanie, and today we're going to be doing another DIY planner refresh in my Discbound planner. I'll be setting up a plastic folder and a custom cover with a few surprises mixed in, so let's get to it. So I've got a couple of punches here. I've got a single punch, a regular disc punch, and a corner rounder. I've also got a ruler, some double-sided tape, some plastic sheets, and this guillotine cutter, which I'll be using. Okay, you guys, so I am going to start off with the plastic folder, and I haven't done any samples of this yet. I have made laminated versions of this folder though, so I'm hoping that this will be kind of the same, just without the lamination part of things. I bought these pieces of plastic, I want to say maybe like 3 or 4 years ago now, to make custom tab dividers, but they were just a little too clear for the application. They kind of showed the scuff marks a little bit too much for my liking. So I have this package of extra plastic, and I thought I would go ahead and give it a go with a clear pocket folder. The reason I thought about this was because I oftentimes change out my pocket folder for seasonal decor, and sometimes I have time to make it and sometimes I don't, which this right now I was kind of a thing where I felt like if I just had a clear one that would go with everything, I wouldn't have to worry about it. So I decided to make one. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do, and I am again using this plastic. I will find it on Amazon. That's where I bought it, and I think this was maybe like a 10 sheet pack. I believe this is 8 by 10 though. It would have been nice to have it in letter size, which would have been a lot less waste as far as the plastic goes, but I wasn't really using this for anything else, so I went ahead and used this 8 by 10 and cut it down to my half letter size for my planner. I, again, have made one of these before in a laminated version, so I had a couple of cardstock templates that I just used for both the size of the folder itself and then also for the flap. And I'm going to make the flap on both sides, so I went ahead and just cut down the plastic to that kind of semi or quarter circle sized flap. This plastic is pretty thick, but it's not like unpunchable thick for this Levenger punch that I have. Definitely would not go through a Happy Planner punch, but the Levenger punch with a little bit of elbow grease got through it pretty cleanly. So I went ahead and used that. The Levenger holes are a little bit fatter and a little bit shorter than the Happy Planner punch, but I think that will work fine for this application just because it's easier to turn on the discs when the holes are a little bit wider at the top and the stems are a little wider. The We Are Memory Keepers Power Punch, which I really love to use for DIY projects, has a little bit of a skinnier stem and a shorter, kind of more compact mushroom head on the disc area. So sometimes that needs a little bit of adjustment to smoothly turn on the rings. But the Levenger was a pretty good fit for the ring size that I have on there right now. I went ahead and punched the corners off, so I made them rounded corners. This punch that I have is pretty old and usually really dull, but with this really stiff plastic material, it worked perfectly. I didn't have any hangers on like I do when it's more flimsy materials. So that was really nice. So I went ahead and punched all the sharp corners off of there, and then I also punched the bottom corner here of the flap so that it would also be rounded when I put it there into the corner. I'm also using some double-sided tape that I've had, again, in my stash for forever. And so it's got some like little fabric, things on the edges that have stuck to it over the years. So I have to make sure that those are nice and clean before I lay down the tape, because I don't want you to see little black fuzzies and whatever through this, since it's a completely clear folder. All I did was trim that flap down to size. I can give you the measurements if you guys really need them, but basically no matter what size you're doing, you just want to be sure that you're giving yourself at least an inch clearance on the inside for the spine, so that any items that you put in there aren't going to be, like up against the spine where the holes are. I'm also going to try filing off the edge a little bit on the one for the back. I thought of this after I laid down the first one, and I had hand cut the roundedness of the curve. It was not too bad, but it was a little bit, just a little bit blocky. It wasn't like perfect. And I thought, well, what if I, file it off? So I have these files from I don't even know where, but they came in some kind of project or something, and I had them in my desk drawer. So I went ahead and pulled it out and tried filing off those little harder edges to smooth out the circle, and actually that worked really well with this plastic. I went ahead and did it on the front too, just kind of gingerly so that I didn't, scratch the plastic on the front or anything like that. And as I'm doing this, it's good to note that the plastic that I purchased has a film on both the front and the back. So I was trying to be strategic with when I would take off the film. So wherever I was going to be putting down something sticky, I would take the film off, of course, first, and then lay it down, but I would leave the other side just so things wouldn't get scratched up as I was DIYing the project, and then took off any outer surfaces at the very end. So that worked out really well, and I would recommend that if you are going to be using this plastic, which is, like I said, a very clear plastic. So there is the plastic folder. The glue line you can see, obviously, it's not a perfectly clear folder, and everything went really smoothly. I put this together fairly quick once I figured out what I was doing. And it looked really good in the end. So clear plastic, totally DIY, and I think looks very good for being a DIY project. Okay, so next what we're going to do is just build out a couple of cardstock sheets for my cover. And I have this cardstock pack I got, I think last year or the year before, with the summer theme. And I just really liked this marbled blue paper. It's also got a little bit of like an iridescent shimmer overlay on it, which I just thought was really pretty and gave that mixed sea vibe that I'm going to be going for my summer cover. However, I didn't want it to be a real thick cardstock, and so I didn't want to double it up with another layer of cardstock on the back. So I decided to use this other paper roll that I've had in my stash for years and years and years, like literal years. And never used. It's almost like wrapping paper, but I thought it was more thick, and I planned to use it for I don't even know what, but never got to it. And I just decided that it had the right vibes for what I was going to be doing here for the rest of the vibe of this theme. So I went ahead and cut out a piece of that kind of paper roll, and I'm going to stick it to the back of the cardstock to make it double-sided and also not too thick, if you will. I am using some Tombow glue runner for this part of the process, and the way I like to do it whenever I'm doing something with a straight edge is to do one side, glue that down first, make sure it's like perfectly straight to what I want, and then glue down the rest. That just saves me from misgluing something and having things be crooked or whatever. So this process I found works the best. Start with one side or one corner and then work your way across the page once you've got the line up, perfect. It was a little cumbersome using such a large piece of that paper roll with this kind of stiff cardstock. So I finally got to the point where I was ready to trim it down to size. And it's a little short, but that's okay. It should be fine for what I want to do. I will go ahead and trim it down. So I am kicking myself for this because I don't know what I was thinking or doing during this process, but I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. It was just really funny. Like I thought I had it completely figured out, and then it wasn't right. So anyway, I went ahead and trimmed it and then thought I was trimming it for a perfect half and half cut, and I trimmed it down, and then I realized that it was not a half and half cut, so I didn't get a front cover and a back cover out of this. I only got a front cover, and I was just I don't know what had happened there, but something always goes wrong lately, especially when I'm trying to do refresh DIYs. I feel like I make so many little dumb mistakes these days, whereas before I felt like I just didn't make as many. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is just me getting older or just being in a rush, or I don't know. But anyway, I was kind of annoyed with that. I don't like to waste. But thankfully, I did have another sheet of that blue cardstock. So just went ahead and worked up another sheet here and just kind of got it ready. And we'll trim it down now to size, being very careful to make sure that it is the right size. Even though that really didn't look like it was going to be. I just saw that cut, but it was. Thankfully, it was. And okay, we finally have a front and a back cover that I can use there. And I'll just go ahead and punch it, making sure that I'm punching the right side on each one so that the spine is oriented properly. I'll go ahead and make sure that everything is stuck down very nicely. And we will now move on to assembling all of the items for my planner refresh. Okay, so I decided that this time around I was not going to DIY all the things like I usually do. I just don't really have the time for it these days. So when Jane's Agenda sent me a notice that I was able to subscribe to their subscriber box, I was off the wait list, decided to go for it this time, and I was really happy that I did. I really like their summer box. Just their ocean vibes themes are really, really, really pretty. So I went ahead and got the monthly cover for June, and then I also went to their warehouse sale, I think, which was in the middle of May, and got some coordinating dashboards to go throughout my planner. So I'll show you guys all of those, but here is this really pretty clear cover that came with the subscription, and then also it provided these two cardstock dashboards with it, which are like front and back, but they're reversed each one. And I liked them, but they were kind of plain. And so I just decided that I really wanted those deep ocean blue vibes as my cover instead. So that's what we just made. And I'm going to be using those cover dashboards as regular dashboards behind some of my tabs. And like I said, I did buy a couple of sets of their dashboards from previous releases. So that's what you're seeing here. And I did buy double of each one that I got. So there was a set of, I think, 3 that are double-sided with the same. And then there's a set of 2 that are flipped, reversed each one, kind of like the cover was. So I had those options to work with for my tab dashboards. I went ahead and started putting in this front cover, and of course, I should start with the back. I did end up chipping one of the teeth off during this process, which I was super mad about. But it's hard to see, but I was just kind of disappointed that I already chipped it off. Those covers are really nice, but they are thick and they are hard to get on. So you really got to take your time and kind of work them in versus just kind of, snapping them in, if you will. I learned my lesson. The back went much better, but the first cover did not go as well as planned. And right now I am just replacing out the dashboards from my spring refresh with these new dashboards from Jane's Agenda. And I decided to just mix and match them with everything that I have. Just trying not to repeat anything too close together, but trying to get a nice variety throughout. I have 6 main side tabs, and then I also have 4 long-term storage tabs here in the back that I also will be replacing. So I'm going to go ahead and pop those in real quick, the ones that I've decided on. And I'm just going to leave those other ones there because I have to kind of clean them out, get rid of some of the stuff that's on the back there. This is my last 6th tab that I needed to put in there. I had a pocket folder that I made for the spring refresh, but that was kind of a fail. It just fell apart on me. And since it was printed, it was also like sharing the toner ink onto all the pages next to it. So just use my eraser real quick to clean up the paper a little bit and make it ready for the new pocket folder that I have recently made for that. And just going to tidy up a little bit, make sure I've got everything going here. I'll pop in this pocket folder. This is also a kind of stiff plastic, but it's a little bit more flexible than those covers are for sure. However, I realized that those flaps are pretty tight. So I had to like kind of smush in my sticker sheet there, but it wasn't too bad once I kind of got it in. I'd rather have it be too tight than too loose for sure. So I just went ahead and used that, and it got the job done. And now I'm on that back cover and realized that I did not have an alternative for my library card holder, which I made custom in my spring refresh. So that extra piece of the blue cardstock that I wasn't able to use, I'm going to go ahead and repurpose here as a new library card holder. I'll just go ahead and score the edges. Basically, to make the pocket, you need to score 3 edges and fold them in, which you're going to see me do here. Just want to make sure that I'm giving myself enough room to slide the cards around in and out of this pocket, comfortably without it being too tight. And then you want to cut off the corners quite a bit so that there's no overlap when you put it down on the page. Clean up those flaps a little bit. And I'm going to use that Tombow glue runner once again for gluing it down. But first I'm going to cut in a little semicircle here at the top to make it easier to pull the cards in and out of the folder. Also using my sticker spatula too to just increase the fold, making sure it's nice and sharp. I'm going to put the cards in just so I have a really good idea of the actual size of this pocket in its finished state, where the cards will sit. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue it right to the back cover. And it looks perfect. Drop that in. And last but not least, we'll put on this clear cover on the back. Again, going nice and slow, making sure I get everything on there, and we're all set. So let's do a quick flip through of the final product. Got the cover here with the custom cardstock. I went ahead and refreshed my laminated sticky dash with pocket, and I also have the Jane's Agenda dashboards in there for my tabs, which I'm showing you now. I still need to reprint my tab there. It's missing the reference label that was kind of coming apart. I just couldn't stand it anymore, so I just took it off. We've got all of the other dashboards in there for my long-term storage. And then that final tab there for my common placing tab. This new pocket folder that we made. The back cover with the library card holder. Gonna add a little bit more glue tape on this one. And then the back cover. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. Also too, go ahead and leave me a comment if you'd like to get in touch. And think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more of my videos. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Bye.